Choices. So many champions have entered TFT, and we only have 5 shop slots every turn to buy them. Meanwhile, every time you decide to sell one, you seem to find 2 or even 3 of them in the next shop. Just do what I do and assume that they are in the same ones you sold, or the same one that keeps popping up every reroll. It's easier for your sanity. So let's rank them so that you know what to buy and sell and snag that number 1. Hey everyone, and welcome to another ProGuides TFT video. This time, we'll be ranking all the current heroes with the ranks of S, A, B, and C tiers according to their current performance. As this patch has been about unit strength a lot, a tier list like this should help you in choosing champions to keep or buy, as well as strengthen your play your best board strategy and win streak a lot more. Our main criteria for ranking units regards their inclusion in top tier comps, as well as their individual unit strength, which can be important as transitional units or item holders. Champions within each tier are not placed in a particular order. Try to squeeze the best ones into your comps for maximum LP gain while they're unchanged. Before we dive in, I just want to let you guys know that we have a Discord community and a new subreddit that are growing really fast. We have you to thank for that, and we want to continue building our community and helping you be a part of it. Make sure you check the link in the description below, and I will see you guys there. S tier. Our S tier includes champions that will be very familiar as you see them in most comps that manage to top 4 and often top the whole lobby. First up, Jhin. Yes, our favorite sniper is making it up here where he can style on all the other champs below him, especially when his favorite 4th shot comes along. He is part of many really strong comps and is an excellent standalone unit as long as you have the sniper buff and a front line. He can carry items like IE and LW even if you transition out of snipers. When you see early Jhin at level 5, most of the time it's worth buying him to boost your comp's strength. Next up is Victor, our resident laser expert. Now that Lux is gone, he has seen a lot of improvements after his mana buff, making him so much easier to place in comps. He has his own comp, partnering with the Met Gang, but he can also be part of Star Guardians, as well as an excellent transition unit for Metal Gear Snake, where he can give Battle Cast to Cassiopeia and add some damage to the comp. Blue buff and Shojin are excellent on him, and Morello's is a must, so make sure you itemize him properly and give him a spin. I mean, we can't have the 4-cost snag all the spotlight, so Janna is here to show them up a bit. She has been tearing through the TFT arena, knocking people up in the air with her tornadoes and making Star Guardians pack a punch. She is a strong plug-and-play unit, and she's also part of the all legendaries and Star Guardian comps. Her Paragon trait makes her a strong counter to 6 Vanguards as well. She likes mana and attack speed items, so build those in her and have some fun by her non-stop casting. We would never leave Ekko off the list, with Cybers being back a bit and him joining the Mech Victor comp as well for the Infiltrator buff. Our favorite time stopper is definitely at the top. Ekko is also a strong plug and play, but he does require an item to fully make use of his damage, while also helping him survive a bit better. He's still best in cybernetics, of course, but you can also plug him in the all legendaries comp as well. He's also extremely item flexible, doing really well with literally any item in the game on him. Thresh is another 5-cost that makes it to the top. Even with minimal changes, mostly nerfs, Thresh took some time until he made it to the top. He was also affected by individual unit strength, especially that of 5 costs that make the best Thresh benches. He's an auto-include at level 9 for many comps, especially those who are mostly complete at level 8 and simply use Thresh to scale to late game, like Metal Gear Snake and Astro Snipers. Don't use Thresh without a decent bench at least, and try to give him Shojin as this item is insane on him. Bard has made it to S tier. In the previous patch, getting Bard early meant a win, especially if you had mana items for him. It's less so now, but he's still a force to be reckoned with, resulting in almost a guaranteed top 4 just off the early crazy leveling he provides. He's not part of endgame comps, but he is so instrumental to getting you them that he definitely gets an S. The all legendaries comp pretty much relies on getting a Bard early and then swapping his items off to the 5 costs once you get to level 9. Bear with me, but Soraka is amazing. She is that silent unit that is part of every comp that wants to slot in Mystic, and there are a lot of them, as well as a strong plug-and-play unit or a Thresh bench target at 2-star. She even got a nerf recently due to her being too good across the board. You don't really buy Soraka if you find her at level 5 unless you're playing Metal Gear Snake, but you definitely don't underestimate her later, as she can be your lifeline, literally. Fizz, after repeated buffs and Mech not being the only comp he can be used in, is definitely getting spot up here. He is extremely strong as plug and play, with strong damage and AoE CC capabilities. He can even be better than Ekko, at least when he is 2-star and Ekko's 1-star. You almost definitely want a Fizz early, as it gives you Mech potential and a strong standalone unit that synergizes well with low-cost units like Zed and Nocturne that you can find and use easily. Cassiopeia is definitely up here as well. Although part of few comps, only Metal Gear Snake and the reroll Battlecast one, she does quite well in both and is the carry in one of them. Her extreme dependence on items is a problem, as she is fairly underwhelming without blue buff and Morellos, but with those items, she is more than deserving an S rating. Do pick her up early, as early Battlecast, especially if you can get 4, is quite strong, and she's a good pair with Bard, giving you Mystic early on top of her offensive capabilities. The only one cost in the S tier, Xayah. She's part of 2 comps, both centered around her, with 6 Blade Masters or Celestial. She's also a decent item carrier early on, helping us up her rating, and has been a consistent performer for the last 2 patches, with no indication that things will get worse going forward. The last champion in the S tier is Wukong. Like Soraka, he finds his way into every comp imaginable. Like Ezreal used to be, he has a great origin and class, usually adding both Chrono and Vanguard to comps, on top of being a really solid unit, especially at 2-star. He is worth itemizing most of the time as your frontliner, with Thief's Gloves being my favorite item on him. That concludes our S tier. There are a few champions that were really close to making the list, but you will likely see them in the A tier, so let's move right into that. The first champion out of the gates is Gnar. Our primitive Yordle is an auto-include in any comp that uses brawlers, as well as a decent plug-and-play frontliner, either as a transition unit or as something you will use later as well. Playing him alongside Vi and transition cybernetics before you move to the full 6 is a great strategy, as he can impact the board a lot and give you DPSers time to take down everyone. Teemo is here too. While his buddy Jhin chills in the S tier, Teemo is part of one comp. He is a really strong unit and a great carry, but his lack of diversity do not help him. Without Astro and blue buff, his DPS suffers, so he's only chilling in the A tier for now. Picking up a Teemo early shows a strong inclination for Astro snipers, but even one cast of shrooms can help a lot in a fight, so don't pass him over without thinking about it when you see him in the shop. Aurelia couldn't be moved to S tier, and I don't think she will ever be in S tier in this set. The only way she would be S tier is if she was an infiltrator on top of or instead of Mana Reaver. Thank Riot, there's an item for that. With Infiltrator Spatula, she is a bona fide S tier champion, even without another Infiltrator like Ekko next to her. With all the buffs she received, she is worth itemizing. Try to get Star Guardian Spatula from late game carousels and add a Janna to your Cybers comp. It's one of the best things you can do, and so much fun watching her fly around the arena one-shotting everyone. Oh, Urgot, how you've fallen! Yes, the crab monster is much more balanced now, so he gets a solid A. Part of many comps, as well as the premier Thresh bench unit, he is a really good unit to buy in the late game. In the mid game, if you get that fabled level 7 Urgot or something, it might be good, but if it doesn't fit your comp, you probably don't buy it unless you can itemize him. Syndra is here as well, blasting opponents to smithereens and then using those smithereens to hit other enemies as well. Very efficient and eco-friendly of her. She is not as plug and play as when she was at 40 mana, but we see a lot of experimentation with Syndra outside of Star Guardians as a traditional unit in Protector comps, for example. As a strong and viable carry, she gets her A rating and moves on to throw balls at people. Jinx is of course in the A tier. She disappeared for a bit and is still struggling, but she definitely makes for a solid unit that can carry games. She has become a lot more item dependent, almost needing RFC to stay relatively safe while she is DPSing. If Ezreal gets a buff, like 10 more initial mana, she can rise by proxy quite a bit. When you see an early Jinx, always consider going the blaster route, but it's not an auto decision anymore. Neeko has made it to A tier, a great transition unit benefiting a lot from the power of Protectors, as well as a core unit in Star Guardians. The Chameleomancer, yeah, that's a word, is a really good unit to have at any point in the game. Protector is especially strong, as with items, she will often be able to ulti 2 or 3 times, CCing multiple units most of the time. Vayne is part of the A tier as well, as a decent itemization option for Cybers, with Aurelia being an Infiltrator spat user and rather okay with anything else otherwise. The Infinity Edge / Last Whisper combo is actually a bit better on the safer carry Vayne. Lulu is one of the 5 costs that does not get the S rating, not because she's bad, but because she is less impactful than others. Janna has sort of replaced her, and even though Lulu has much better traits, she's only used as a better Mystic. Soraka can be better than her sometimes, especially if Lulu is 1-star, and that says something. Aurelian Soul is the other A-tier legendary. Before the 10.15 nerfs, he was definitely S, but while he's really strong, he does not get much done in his 1-star form, unlike many other 5 costs. With 1 or 2 items on him, and at 2-star form, form, however, he is a terror to behold, so don't hesitate to build him if you get him. He is also part of the All Legendaries comp, as well as Rebels or Blasters, who are seeing a bit of a resurgence and are quite dependent on getting him. Jace is here too. One of the most used champions in the game, he's part of a really strong comp in Metal Gear Snake, as well as one of the best transition units in the game throughout this set. He can carry items like Frozen Heart, Bramble for your mech, and more really efficiently. Graves is a really strong unit after his buff, carrying some tank items quite well in the early game, and with the resurgence of many physical carries, his blind is really useful, so try to 2-star him early in the game, you will not regret it. Ahri makes this list as well, but make sure to use proper positioning. She is an amazing item carrier for many comps like All Legendary, Metal Gear Snake, and even Star Guardians, where she can have the Janna items. Ashe barely makes A tier, mainly due to her plug-and-play nature. She has 2 distinctly useful tags, and she can be used as either or both. Her useful ult and really good Shojin carrying capabilities rank her up here. She is a good unit to buy early and sell later, so do pause and think when you see her in shop. We can't really put legendaries below the A tier since they are inherently so strong individually these days. Xerath has fallen a bit due to the lacking popularity of the comps he's part of. Darkstars can still be an A tier comp if they get him though, and the huge impact he makes when 2-starred is not diminished at all. He's fairly weak as Thresh bench though, so only pick him up if you can itemize him or need a good sorcerer unit to buff someone. This concludes our A tier. Would you have added someone to this list? Let us know in the comments. We love to hear how you experience the game. While you type though, let's move to the B tier. First one out of the gate in the B tier is Blitzcrank. Our lovely mechanical Captain Hook is solid throughout the game, and his really good tags are strong in the early game. He can disrupt and provide a tanky unit opponents have to chew through if he has Brawler as well. Nautilus swims his way into the B tier as well. While part of the Astro Snipers and Metal Gear Snake, he's not really an integral part, mainly used for his good tags. His CC is strong, but he's one of those units where best items are no items. Caitlyn was actually close to making the A tier for how strong she is in the early game. Again, good tags mean useful unit, both for transitions and late game splashes. However, she's really weak in the late game unless 3-starred and does not scale well with most items. Darius, after many buffs, escaped the C tier and is up here. His recent buffs have made him a good opener, but as always, he falls off really hard unless you 2-star him early on. Space Jam is not a great comp still, but Darius can carry useful items you can use on other units later. Ezreal is here. Thankfully, he does not belong in the Museum of C tier, even after his gutting nerf. He still has good tags that enable Jinx comps a lot, and transition cybernetics if you have used the red buff Lucian route. With red buff being quite bad on Jinx nowadays, if you used it early, you can actually give it to him and focus on better items for Jinx. Speaking of Lucian, he's here too. His recent buff made him much better able to carry the mid game, but if you don't 2-star him, he falls off really hard. Good item carrier for Vayne or Aurelia too. Jarvan, unfortunately, is down here now. Although part of a couple of strong comps, his individual performance and value have suffered after repeated deserved nerfs. He's not really worth itemizing outside of Unlimited Blade Works anymore. Mordekaiser graces our B tier after his recent buff. He's become a rather strong early game item carrier, a sort of worse Jace, hence the tier difference. If you get him 2-starred, do not hesitate to use at all. Kog'Maw made B solely due to the reroll Battlecast flavor of the month. The build is a bit hit or miss, but Kog'Maw is a fairly strong Jinx item carrier too, transitioning from 4 Battlecast blasters to blaster brawlers. If you can't seem to 2-star him, don't invest too much into him. Rakan is one of the champions I would give B+ to. His ult is amazing, his tags are really strong, and if you can get him paired with Shin and some HP items like Warmogs, they can be one of the strongest starts in the early game. Right next to his buddy, Xin Zhao is here as well. His usefulness in the opener and how much you can snowball a lead with a 2-star Xin Zhao is the main reason for this rating, even though he's not part of any really top tier comp. Riven has fallen, and it's a pity because she's so fun. With Jhin being strong, Riven suffers a lot, so she's now mostly demoted to supporting Aurelia or Master Yi in Cybers or Slash Bros. You can still play Riven sorcerers, but Syndra is a bit better and they use similar items, so they're hard to use together. Master Yi would like to be in the A tier, but Slash Bros is so hit or miss that we cannot give him that honor. If you get a lot of attack speed items, it's actually a decent comp to run, so pick him up if you find him early. Rumble is here too, always happy to set things on fire. With mech being meta again, Rumble rises a bit in popularity. Getting and itemizing an early Rumble, especially if you pair him with the Ziggs or demo buff, is really strong mid-game, and it takes you closer to being able to switch to a mech comp. Definitely a solid unit. Oh, how the mighty Shaco has fallen. He is still playable in Mech Infiltrator and Dark Stars, but he really struggles due to all the Vanguards flying around nowadays, or gets exploded by various nefarious spells. The Clown is still a solid choice if you go the Dark Star path, so buy him early and see where you can go. You can always sell him later. Shen is here too. As a part of the Unlimited Bladeworks comp and his overall utility, he deserves a decent grade. He's also a bit better than Riven as the third Blademaster in Cybernetics due to all the Jins and physical frontline damage going around. He can delay them better than Riven and is cheaper, so why not? Harma makes B tier mainly by her plug-and-play nature. She is a really good fourth item with decent tags, especially for comps like Astro Snipers where both tags are relevant. By using Karma, you can actually make one more defensive item and rely on her giving Jin or Xerath the attack speed, or AD in Jin's case, they would get from another item. Vi is the last B tier champion. She is the definition of a solid but not amazing unit. She does everything well, damage, tanking, and disruption, but she does not excel in anything. Getting an early Vi, while good, is not a win streak by itself. Do pair her with other brawlers early if you get her though. This concludes our B tier, and so let's move to the poor champs who got a C. Illaoi is the first one to get a C, even with the popularity of reroll Battlecast. She is a decent unit early, but she has no impact the further the game goes, even with items. Nocturne is very similar to Illaoi, as he struggles a lot past a certain point, but is quite useful in the early game to shut down carries. If you find a 2-star Noct, do make him and try to use him, as he can net you wins. Make sure you position him properly to try and hit important units. Twisted Fate would not have been C tier a couple of patches ago, but he has really fallen out of meta a lot. Sorcerers don't go for 6 Sorks anymore. Other units like Ahri do better at carrying Cassio or Victor items, so poor TF is down here. He can do well, but others do much better, so be warned before you pick him up. Malphite cannot get anything other than a C. The only saving grace he has is his useful tags, at least for blasters or rebels, where both can be used. Zed is a weird case. The fact though that to be good he needs to be 3-starred and have a spatula item in Blade of the Ruined King does not really make him deserve anything better in this list. He's also fallen off in the early game due to the inherent tankiness of many units people pick now. Yasuo still struggles to do well and still fails. The main problems are his squishiness throughout the game and his low impact throughout the game, even early. Ziggs is another weird case where he can be useful early, but he needs blue buff and preferably a rumble to truly shine. At the same time, there are better units to build blue buff on unless you're going for a rebel build or got many rebel units early. Zoe might be a goddess late game, especially in Star Guardians, but come on, you have to carry her like that 0-15 Yasuo in your league team until that point. She gives useful synergies at least, but her individual strength is so bad in the early game that she gets a C. If you plan on playing Star Guardians though, don't scoff at her. Poppy is far from her Candyland days. Her only saving grace is that there's a comp that literally uses all Vanguards, the Metal Gear Snake Vanguard Edition. Otherwise, she is a decent item carrier early, but nothing spectacular, especially compared to units like Mordekaiser. Leona is really low impact and a fairly boring unit to boot, but you always play her in Cybers. That's not enough to get her anything better than a C though. The same goes for Fiora. The only caveat is make sure you 2-star her. A Redemption Fiora that actually gets to ult once before dying is the ideal Cybernetics fight RNG in the late game, and you can't imagine how much of a difference it can make. Annie got some buffs here and there and has seen play for a while in sort comps as frontline. Recently though, she's really fallen out of favor and is only useful for mech comps. Items are back on Rumble too, so she gets the lowest rating of the 3 mech pilots. Finally, Gangplank gets a C. I mean, he's a pirate. I assume he got really bad grades at school too, but I did not expect to give a legendary a C. He really deserves it though, as outside of some play in mech for the demo buff and maybe a stun if he casts, he does not even get picked up when rolling down for legendaries because you might get the useless upgrades. Okay, we got them all. Remember, this is based on available data and the experience of our top players right now. A tier list is a guide for prioritizing the new champions. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't use a Nocturne in the early game or not pick up a Gangplank if you find him at level 7 and he fits your comp. Now, go out there and climb that ladder. As always, we love your feedback and continue to bear it in mind while creating our videos. So hit us in the comments with your thoughts about our ratings. We really like interacting with our audience and hearing your opinions. And until next time, I will see you all in the next video. Good luck out there, guys.